Commander Alara Vex stood on the bridge of her scout ship, her tall figure casting a long shadow across the control panels. Her scaled skin caught the blue light from the main screen, where a small planet hung like a marble in the darkness of space. "Unremarkable," she said, her voice deep and steady. Just like the report said, the planet called Earth was the 17th world the Arxian Empire had targeted for conquest this cycle. Intelligence suggested humans were divided, technologically, inferior, and would surrender quickly. Alara had led campaigns against 12 other species without a single defeat. Humans would be no different. "Commander," her second-in-command called from the sensor station. "There's unusual solar activity in this system." Alara flicked her tail in annoyance. "Will it affect our mission?" "Unlikely. But..." A sudden flash filled the bridge and warning alarms blared. The ship shuddered violently, throwing crew members from their stations. "Solar flare!" the navigator shouted. Much stronger than predicted. Alara gripped her command chair as the ship tilted. "Damage report. Engine systems failing. Communications array destroyed. We're being pulled into the planet's gravity." Ilara's training took over. "Activate emergency landing protocols. Send distress signal to the fleet on all frequencies." The minked blue planet grew larger on the screen as their ship plummeted toward its surface. Alara watched calmly despite the chaos around her. In 200 years of military service, she had faced worse situations. The Arxian Empire would send help once they missed their check-in. "Impact in 30 seconds, the navigator called out. "Brace positions," Alara ordered, her voice never rising above a conversational tone. "Remember your training." The ship crashed, through clouds, then trees before slamming into a mountainside. Metal tore and bent. Crew members were thrown against walls and consoles. Alara felt a sharp pain as her head struck the ceiling, but she remained conscious. When the ship finally stopped moving, silence fell except for the hiss of damaged systems and the moans of injured crew. Alara pulled herself up, green blood dripping from a cut on her forehead. "Status report." 6 of her 12 crew members responded. The others lay motionless at their stations. Alara showed no emotion at their deaths. Arxians saw death in battle as the highest honor. "The ship is destroyed," her weapons officer reported. "Life support functioning at minimal levels." Alara nodded. "We're stranded until rescue arrives. Secure the crash site and gather supplies." As her crew moved to follow orders, the communications officer called out, "Commander, I'm detecting primitive radio signals. The locals know we're here." Alara bared her sharp teeth in what passed for a smile among her kind. "Perfect. Our first encounter with the humans comes earlier than planned. Prepare weapons and armor. Standard conquest protocol." Her remaining warriors gathered their gear, plasma rifles, energy shields, and battle armor that enhanced their already impressive strength. Arxians naturally stood 8 feet tall, with tough scaled skin and powerful muscles. Against the Yaid, smaller, softer humans, they expected an easy victory. The 6 Arxian warriors emerged from their crashed ship into Earth's cool mountain air. Alara breathed deeply, finding the oxygen content higher than their homeworld. "The air will make us stronger," she told her team. "Remember, humans are primitive but dangerous in large numbers. Show no mercy." They set up a defensive position around the crash site and waited. Soon the sound of approaching vehicles echoed through the trees. Primitive combustion engines, her weapons officer noted with disdain. Human military vehicles appeared at the edge of the clearing. Soldiers in camouflage uniforms deployed, taking cover behind trees and rocks. Their weapons looked simple, projectile-based rather than energy weapons. Alara stood tall, letting the humans see her full height and imposing figure. Her translator device would convert her speech to the local language. "Humans!" Her voice boomed across the clearing. "I am Commander Alara Vex of the Arxian Empire. Your planet has been claimed for our empire. Surrender now and you will serve as subjects. Resist and you will be eliminated." The humans didn't respond immediately. Alara noticed how disciplined they remained, not showing the fear she expected. Human voice called back through a speaker. "This is Captain Marcus Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. You have entered Earth territory without permission. Power down your weapons and surrender." Alara laughed, the sound like grinding stones. This was exactly as intelligence had predicted. Primitive beings trying to appear strong. Attack pattern 3, she ordered her warriors. Leave some alive, for questioning. The Arxians moved with practiced precision, firing energy blasts from their weapons. Trees splintered and rocks melted where they missed their targets. But something unexpected happened. The humans didn't break and run. They returned fire in coordinated bursts, and their primitive projectile weapons somehow penetrated Arxian armor. "Impossible," shouted her weapons officer as one of their warriors fell, blood pouring from multiple wounds. Another Arxian dropped, then another. Their supposedly superior weapons and armor were failing against human tactics and technology. "Adjust shields," Elara commanded, firing her own weapon at a human position. "They're using armor-piercing ammunition. Keep moving." But the humans adapted quickly. They targeted the Arxians' legs, where their armor was thinner. They used explosives to force the aliens into crossfires. Within minutes, 4 of Elara's warriors lay dead or dying. Only she and her second-in-command remained, pinned down behind the wreckage of their ship. "This cannot be happening," her second-in-command gasped, green blood seeping from a wound in his chest. "They are just humans." "The intelligence was wrong," Elara replied, her mind racing to understand their failure. "They're more advanced than we thought." Her second-in-command's eyes went blank as he died. Elara was now alone, surrounded by an enemy that had killed her entire team. For the first time in her long military career, she felt fear, cold and unfamiliar, spreading through her body. Human soldiers were closing in. She heard their coordinated movements, their calm communications. These were not the primitives she had been told to expect. A shadow fell across her hiding place. Elara looked up to see a human soldier pointing a weapon at her head. He was smaller than her, with dark eyes that showed no fear, only focused determination. The name tag on his uniform read, Chen. In that moment, Commander Elara Vex, decorated war hero of the mighty Arxian Empire, made a decision that would change the course of 2 civilizations. She dropped her weapon and fell to her knees. "Don't kill me, human," she said, the words feeling like poison in her mouth. Her translator struggled to express a concept Arxians rarely used. "Surrender. I'll warm your bed." The human, Captain Chen, stared at her in surprise. His weapon remained steady, but confusion crossed his face at her unexpected words. Instead of killing her, he spoke into a communication device. "Command, this is Chen. I have a prisoner. I repeat, I have captured 1 alien alive." As more humans surrounded her with weapons ready, Elara realized a terrible truth. Everything her empire believed about humans was dangerously wrong. The human facility where they kept Elara was underground. She could sense it from the air pressure and constant temperature. Her cell was small but clean, with a bed too short for her 8-foot frame, a toilet she had to crouch to use, and bright lights that never turned off. 3 weeks had passed since her capture. 3 weeks of questions, tests, and growing confusion. The door to her cell slid open. Captain Chen entered, carrying a tablet and a chair. As always, armed guards waited. Outside, Chen placed the chair across from where Elara sat on her bed and took a seat. "Good morning, Commander Vex," he said in his calm voice. Elara straightened her posture. In Arxian culture, showing weakness to an enemy was shameful. Yet she had already committed the ultimate disgrace by surrendering. "Captain Chen," she replied. Her translator device had been taken, but the humans had created a new one that hung around her neck. "More questions today?" "A few." Chen tapped on his tablet. "Our scientists have been studying the technology from your ship. They're particularly interested in your faster-than-light drive." Elara blinked slowly, a gesture of surprise in her species. The humans had salvaged parts of the ship, and they understood what they were looking at. "Your people shouldn't be able to comprehend that technology," she said. "Our intelligence said humans had only achieved basic space travel." Chen smiled, slightly. "Your intelligence was wrong about many things. This was becoming clearer to Alara every day. The humans weren't primitive at all. Their technology was different from Arxian designs, but equally advanced in many areas. Their military tactics showed sophistication that rivaled her own war college training. Most confusing was how they treated her. In Arxian culture, capturing rather than killing an enemy was done only to extract information before execution. She had been waiting for torture, for cruelty. Instead, Chen used conversation, patience, and what seemed like genuine interest in her answers. "Why do you keep me alive?" she asked suddenly. Chen looked up from his tablet. "You're valuable. You know things we need to understand about your people. In my culture, I would have been executed already for the dishonor of surrender. We have different values," Chen replied. Before Alara could respond, an alarm blared through the facility. Chen jumped to his feet, pressing a hand to his ear communication device. "What's happening?" he demanded. Alara could only hear his side of the conversation, but his expression grew increasingly concerned. "Commander Vex," he said urgently, "our sensors have detected another ship like yours entering Earth's atmosphere. Is this a rescue mission, or the beginning of an invasion?" Alara felt a complex mix of emotions. Relief that her empire had not abandoned her. Fear of what would happen when they discovered how wrong their intelligence had been. "It's a scout ship," she answered truthfully. "Standard procedure when a mission fails to report. They will investigate what happened to us." Chen studied her face, looking for deception. Finding none, he spoke rapidly into his communication device. The facility became a flurry of activity. Guards rushed past the open door. Announcements echoed through speakers. Hours later, Chen returned with 3 high-ranking officers. Their faces were grim. "The Arxian scout ship has destroyed one of our defense satellites and is not responding to communications," a gray-haired woman said. "We need to know what we're facing, Commander Vex. How many ships should we expect to follow?" Alara looked at their worried faces and made a decision. Not out of loyalty to humans, but because she recognized a terrible truth. If her empire attacked without understanding human capabilities, they would face catastrophic losses. "The Arxian expansion fleet includes 300 warships," she said. "But they won't come at once. After the scout reports, they will send a vanguard of 20 ships to establish a foothold. The main fleet follows only after a planet is secured." The officers exchanged alarmed glances. "She's cooperating," one of them said suspiciously. "Why?" "Because she's smart," Chen answered. "She knows what happened to her team will happen to her entire fleet if they come unprepared." The gray-haired woman leaned forward. "Can they be negotiated with? Can we avoid conflict?" Alara shook her head. "The Empire doesn't negotiate with species marked for conquest. It would be seen as weakness. Then we have no choice but to prepare for war," the woman said grimly. After the others left, Chen remained. He stood by the door, watching Alara with an expression she couldn't read. "Why did you spare my life?" she asked. "At the crash site, you could have killed me easily." Chen considered the question. "Because you stopped being a threat." Alara tilted her head. "I don't understand. When you surrendered, you were no longer a danger. Killing you would have been unnecessary." This concept was alien to Alara. In Arxian culture, mercy toward enemies was incomprehensible weakness. Victory meant elimination of all opposition. "Your thinking is strange," she said. Chen smiled slightly. "Maybe that's why your intelligence underestimated us. You cannot understand what you cannot measure." Before Alara could respond, the facility shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. Emergency lights flashed red. "We're under attack," Chen said, pressing his communication device. "The scout ship must have found us." Guards rushed in, weapons raised. "Sir, we need to evacuate. They've breached the upper levels." Chen nodded. "Secure the prisoner for transport." "Sir," one guard said hesitantly. "Some of the officers suggested we shouldn't take alien prisoners during evacuation." Chen's expression hardened. "Commander Vex is coming with us. That's an order." As they led her through corridors filled with panicked personnel, Alara heard the distinctive sound of Arxian plasma weapons above. Her people had come for her. They rushed into a large garage area filled with vehicles. Soldiers loaded equipment and wounded comrades. Chen directed Alara toward an armored transport. Suddenly, the ceiling exploded. 3 Arxian warriors dropped through the opening, firing their weapons. Humans fell, some wounded, some dead. Chen pushed Alara down behind a vehicle for cover. She watched as the humans returned fire, their projectile weapons proving effective once again. One Arxian warrior spotted her. "Commander Vex," he called out in their language. "We've come to rescue you." The warrior turned toward Chen, weapon raised, to kill the human. In that moment, Alara made a choice that would forever change her fate. She grabbed a fallen human weapon and fired at the Arxian warrior. The bullets tore through his armor, and he collapsed to the floor. Chen stared at her in shock. "You killed one of your own." "He was going to kill you," Alara replied, surprised by her own actions. The remaining Arxian warriors were eliminated by the human defenders. As the facility continued to collapse around them, Chen helped Alara into the transport vehicle. "Why?" he asked as they sped away from the compromised base. Alara looked at the weapon in her hands, then at the human whose life she had saved. "I don't know," she answered honestly, "but I think I'm about to find out." As they escaped into the night, Alara realized her understanding of both humans and her own people had been irreparably altered. Whatever happened next, she could never go back to who she had been. The mountain hideout was an old military bunker, built into the side of a cliff and hidden by trees. The surviving humans from the facility had regrouped here, along with other military personnel. Alara counted roughly 50 soldiers, technicians, and officers. Most of them stared at her with open hostility. She understood their anger. Her people had attacked their world. But she had made her choice when she killed the Arxian warrior to save Chen, and there was no going back. Chen led her to a small meeting room where several officers gathered around a table covered with maps and computer screens. "This is Commander Vex," Chen said. "She's agreed to help us." A tall woman with short gray hair frowned. "You expect us to trust an alien invader?" "I expect you to use every resource available, Colonel Hayes," Chen replied firmly. "Commander, Vex has extensive knowledge of Arxian tactics and technology. We need that information." The colonel studied Alara with narrowed eyes. "And why exactly are you helping us, Commander? Betraying your own people?" Alara stood straight, her scaled head nearly touching the ceiling. "I witnessed my elite warriors defeated by humans who were supposed to be primitive. I've seen your technology, which our intelligence claimed was centuries behind ours. Everything my empire believes about humans is wrong, which means an attack would result in massive casualties on both sides. So it's pragmatism, not loyalty," Hayes said. "Yes," Alara admitted, "but my goals now align with yours, prevent unnecessary death." Hayes didn't seem entirely convinced, but she nodded. "Captain Chen vouches for you. That counts for something. But remember, one suspicious move, and you'll wish we'd left you at that facility." Over the next few days, Alara worked with the human military to prepare defenses. She provided details about Arxian ships, weapons, and strategies. The humans listened carefully, asking intelligent questions that showed their quick understanding. What surprised Alara most was how the humans operated. In Arxian military structure, orders flowed strictly from top to bottom, with unquestioning obedience expected. The humans worked differently. During one planning session, a young lieutenant respectfully disagreed with Colonel Hayes about placement of anti-aircraft defenses. "With all due respect, Colonel, if we place them here instead, we create overlapping fields of fire while keeping them hidden from orbital scans." Instead of punishing this challenge to authority, Hayes considered the suggestion. "Good thinking, Lieutenant. Make the adjustments." Alara watched in amazement. In my military, that lieutenant would be disciplined for questioning a superior officer. Chen, who sat beside her, shrugged. "Good ideas can come from anywhere. Rank doesn't make someone infallible. But doesn't this create chaos?" Without strict hierarchy, how do you maintain order? It's not chaos, it's collaboration, Chen explained. We follow orders in battle, but planning is different. More minds mean more solutions. This concept fascinated Alara. The Arxian Empire had conquered 17 star systems with rigid military precision and overwhelming force. Yet here were humans, supposedly inferior, with a completely different approach that somehow worked. As days passed, Alara found herself working most closely with Chen. He taught her about human concepts like proportional response and collaborative leadership, ideas considered dangerously radical in Arxian society. In return, she provided insights into Arxian physiology and cultural weaknesses. Your people really don't have words for compromise or mercy? Chen asked one evening as they studied Arxian ship schematics. Not in our military language, Alara confirmed. The closest concept translates as strategic patience, temporarily sparing an enemy when it serves a greater purpose. Is that why you offered to? Chen hesitated. Warm my bed? When we first met? Ilara's scales darkened slightly, and what humans had learned was her version of embarrassment. It was the most humiliating surrender I could think of. For an Arxian warrior to offer comfort instead of combat is the ultimate disgrace. Chen nodded thoughtfully. Cultural differences. For humans, offering that to an enemy would mean something very different. Before Alara could ask what he meant, alarms blared throughout the base. They rushed to the command center where screens showed aerial footage of a battle. Arxian scout forces engaged our fighters near the old crash site, Colonel Hayes reported. They're searching for you, Commander. Alara studied the footage. These are elite trackers. They won't stop until they find this base. Then we need to stop them first, Hayes said grimly. Captain Chen, take a team and ambush them in the valley. Use what Commander Vex has taught us about their tactical patterns. Chen saluted and headed for the door. Alara stepped forward. I should go too, I know how they think. Hayes frowned. Absolutely not. You're too valuable to risk. I'm a warrior, not an advisor, Alara insisted. And I know their blind spots, better than anyone. After a tense moment, Hayes nodded reluctantly. Captain, she's your responsibility. An hour later, Alara crouched beside Chen in dense forest, watching as Arxian scouts moved through the valley below. 6 human soldiers were positioned nearby, weapons ready. Remember, Alara whispered. They rely heavily on their left side vision. Their right side has a significant blind spot. Chen nodded, signaling to his team. The ambush was perfectly executed, catching the Arxian scouts by surprise, but one scout managed to fire a plasma burst before falling. The shot hit Chen directly in the chest. He collapsed, blood spreading across his uniform. Medic! Alara shouted, rushing to his side. She pressed her hands against his wound, trying to stop the bleeding. Stay with me, Captain. The human medic arrived quickly but looked grim after examining Chen. The wound is too severe, he's losing too much blood. Then give him more blood, Alara demanded. We don't have his type here, and even if we did, the internal damage is— Use mine, Alara interrupted. The medic stared at her. Your blood? That's alien biology. It could kill him instantly. Arxian blood has regenerative properties, Alara explained urgently. It might repair the damage, or it could trigger a fatal immune response, the medic argued. Alara looked down at Chen's pale face. His breathing was shallow, fading. He will die anyway. Let me try. After a moment's hesitation, the medic nodded. They quickly set up a field. Transfusion, drawing Alara's green blood and feeding it into Chen's veins. For several tense minutes, nothing happened. Then Chen gasped, his back arching. The wound in his chest began to close, new tissue forming before their eyes. Impossible, whispered the medic. When they returned to base with Chen stable but unconscious, Colonel Hayes demanded an explanation. After hearing about the blood transfusion, she ordered both Chen and Alara to the medical bay for testing. We have no idea what mixing your biologies might do, she told Alara. This was incredibly reckless. It saved his life, Alara replied simply. That night, as Chen recovered and Alara underwent tests, she felt something strange, flashes of unfamiliar sensations and emotions that weren't her own. Compassion, empathy, concepts alien to Arxian psychology. When she finally fell asleep, she dreamed of Earth as seen through human eyes, not as a conquest, but as a home worth protecting. She woke confused, wondering if these were her thoughts or something else entirely. The medical officer confirmed her suspicion the next morning. The blood transfusion created a biochemical bond, he explained. Your blood changed him, healing his wound faster than humanly possible. But his blood is changing you too, affecting your brain chemistry. I'm becoming human? Alara asked, alarmed. Not exactly, but you're experiencing human emotions through this connection. And Captain Chen might be gaining some Arxian physical traits. Alara considered this unexpected development. She was no longer fully Arxian in mindset, yet not human either. She existed now in between worlds, the perfect bridge for what was to come. When a technician burst into the medical bay shouting that they'd captured an Arxian communications array, Alara knew what she had to do. With access to Imperial transmissions, she could discover the Empire's true plans. What she learned hours later filled her with dread. The Arxian extermination fleet was approaching, carrying planet-killing weapons. The humans had weeks, not months, to prepare. Worse, the intercepted messages revealed why the Empire considered humans uniquely dangerous. Human adaptability and emotional intelligence threatened the rigid Arxian social order. The Empire feared humans not for their technology but for their ideas. As Chen finally awoke, Alara met his eyes and felt an echo of his thoughts through their new connection. We need to talk, she said. I know what's coming and why they fear your people so much. Captain Chen sat up in his hospital bed, touching the newly healed skin on his chest where the Arxian plasma shot had struck him. The wound that should have killed him had closed completely, leaving only a strange, scale-like pattern over his heart. You saved my life, he said to Alara, who stood beside his bed. Thank you. Alara shifted uncomfortably. Gratitude was another concept Arxians rarely expressed. The blood bond was unexpected. I can feel it, Chen admitted. Sometimes I know what you're thinking and I'm stronger, faster than before. And I'm experiencing human emotions, Alara said. It's disorienting. A knock on the door interrupted them. Colonel Hayes entered with several other officers. Captain, you're looking better, Hayes said. Doctor says you're recovering at an impossible rate. She turned to Alara. Your blood did that? Alara nodded. Arxian cellular regeneration, but there were side effects we didn't anticipate. Hayes frowned. What kind of side effects? A biochemical connection, Chen explained. We can sense each other's thoughts sometimes, and I've gained some physical enhancements. While I'm experiencing human emotional responses, Alara added. The officers exchanged concerned glances. Hayes stepped forward. We've received reports from around the world. The Arxian scout ships are attacking major cities, establishing landing zones. Earth's governments are uniting to fight back, but we need a better strategy. She looked at Alara. The information you've provided has been valuable, but we need more. Alara straightened her tall frame. I have a suggestion, but you won't like it. An hour later, they gathered in the command center. Maps showed Arxian landing sites across the globe. Video feeds displayed battles in major cities. The humans were fighting bravely, but the Arxian advance continued. Alara pointed to a holographic display showing an orbital view. The Arxian command ship will arrive in 2 weeks. It coordinates all fleet operations. If we can disable it, the invasion force will be thrown into confusion. And how exactly do we reach an orbiting alien warship? Hayes asked skeptically. We infiltrate, Alara replied. I can get a small team aboard using my command codes and knowledge of ship protocols. The room fell silent. Chen stepped forward. I'll lead the mission. Absolutely not, Hayes objected. You're still recovering and this is a suicide mission. The blood bond gives me an advantage, Chen argued. I can now understand Arxian language without a translator, and I have enhanced strength and reflexes. Plus, Ilara and I can communicate silently through our connection. Hayes looked unconvinced, but the urgency of their situation left few options. How many people would you need? A small team, Chen said. 4 humans plus Ilara. Any more would be noticed. Over the next week, Ilara trained Chen and 3 Special Forces soldiers in Arxian ship layouts, security protocols, and basic language. The humans learned quickly, especially Chen, whose blood bond gave him an intuitive understanding of Arxian thinking. During one training session, as the others took a break, Chen found Ilara staring at a map of her homeworld. "Do you miss it?" he asked quietly. Ilara considered the question. "I miss its certainty. In the Empire, everyone knows their place, their purpose. Here, with humans, everything is constantly changing, adapting." "Is that so terrible?" "It's overwhelming," she admitted. "But also fascinating. Your people embrace change. Mine fear it." Chen moved closer. "The blood bond. Does it bother you, feeling human emotions?" "At first, yes. Arxians are taught that emotions are weakness, that they cloud strategic thinking." She turned to face him. "But now I wonder if we were wrong. Your emotions don't weaken you. They drive you to fight harder, to care about each other. They also lead to confusion," Chen said with a small smile. "Especially when I can't tell if what I'm feeling is coming from me or from you." Ilara felt a strange warmth in her chest that she now recognized as affection. The bond between them had grown, stronger each day. Was this what humans called friendship, or something more complicated? Before she could respond, a scientist hurried into the room. "Captain Chen, Commander Vex, we've made a discovery about the blood bond that you need to see immediately." In the lab, screens displayed complex molecular structures. "The mixing of your blood has created something unprecedented," the scientist explained. "Captain Chen has gained Arxian physical capabilities, while Commander Vex has gained human emotional capacity." "We knew this already," Ilara said impatiently. "Yes, but we didn't understand why it worked," the scientist continued excitedly. "We've analyzed historical Arxian DNA samples from the crash site and compared them to Commander Vex's current DNA. There's evidence of genetic engineering in the Arxian genome." "What are you saying?" Chen asked. "I'm saying the Arxians' lack of emotional capacity isn't natural. It appears to have been deliberately engineered out of their species, probably over many generations." Ilara felt a cold shock run through her. "That's impossible. The Empire would never—" "The evidence is clear," the scientist insisted. "The blood bond with Captain Chen has simply restored capabilities your species once naturally possessed." Ilara's mind raced. Could it be true? Had her people been engineered to lack empathy and emotional connections? It would explain the Empire's obsession with hierarchy and conquest. Without emotional attachments, war became merely efficient resource allocation. "There's more," the scientist added. "We believe this effect could be replicated. If we could develop a delivery method, you could make other Arxians experience human emotions." Chen finished, understanding immediately. "A biological weapon that doesn't kill but changes how they think." "Precisely," the scientist confirmed. "It could potentially destabilize the entire Empire without firing a shot." Colonel Hayes, who had been listening silently, stepped forward. "Could this be deployed from the command ship?" "Theoretically, yes," the scientist replied. "Their life support systems would be the ideal delivery method." Hayes turned to Chen and Ilara. "This changes your mission. Get aboard that ship, install this emotional catalyst in their life support, and get out." As they left the lab, Ilara remained silent, processing this revelation. Her entire understanding of her species had been shattered. Were Arxians naturally more like humans before some ancient leaders decided emotions were a weakness to be removed? Chen sensed her turmoil through their bond. "Are you all right?" "No," she answered honestly. "Everything I believed about my people might be a lie. Or it might be an opportunity," Chen suggested, "to restore something your people lost." Their conversation was interrupted by alarms. The command center erupted into activity as officers rushed to stations. The Arxian command ship has arrived early, Hayes announced grimly. It's in orbit now and they're jamming our communications worldwide. We need to move immediately. Ilara looked at Chen, feeling a surge of determination through their bond that mirrored her own. We're ready, Chen said. As they prepared for the most dangerous mission of their lives, Ilara realized she had come to a turning point. When she first begged for her life, offering to warm the bed of her human captor, she had meant it as the ultimate humiliation. Now, the growing connection between her and Chen had given those words new meaning. Not servitude, but partnership. Whatever happened aboard the Arxian command ship would determine not just Earth's fate, but possibly that of her own civilization as well. The small human shuttle approached the massive Arxian command ship under the cover of a meteor shower. Painted in the dark colors of Arxian military vessels and broadcasting stolen identification codes, it was their best hope for infiltration. Inside the shuttle, Ilara wore her restored commander's uniform. Captain Chen and 3 Special Forces soldiers were disguised as Arxian prisoners, their faces altered with makeup to hide their human features and their hands bound with restraints that could be quickly released. Final equipment check, Chen ordered. Each team member verified their weapons, communication devices, and most importantly, the canisters containing the emotional catalyst developed from their blood bond. Remember the plan, Ilara said. I pose as an officer returning with captured humans for interrogation. We make our way to the life support control center, release the catalyst, and escape during the confusion. The shuttle communication system crackled. Unidentified vessel, identify yourself and state your purpose, demanded an Arxian voice in their native language. Ilara responded confidently. Commander Ilara Vex, returning from planetary surface with high-value prisoners for interrogation. Request immediate docking and security escort. There was a pause. Commander Vex was reported missing and presumed dead. Reports of my death were premature, Ilara replied smoothly. My scout ship was destroyed, but I survived and continued my mission. I have captured humans with valuable intelligence about their defense systems. Another pause. Then, docking permission granted. Security will meet you at Airlock 7. The shuttle approached the massive warship, now visible through the viewports. It was 15 times larger than anything humans had built, a dark monument to Arxian military power. That's intimidating, whispered Lopez, one of the Special Forces soldiers. Size isn't everything, Chen replied quietly. Remember, we have surprise on our side. The shuttle docked with a metallic clunk. Ilara stood straight, channeling the commanding presence she had cultivated over centuries of military service. Follow. My lead. Speak only if spoken to directly, she instructed. The blood bond has given Captain Chen some understanding of our language, but the rest of you should remain silent. The airlock opened to reveal 4 armed Arxian guards. They saluted Ilara, though she noticed their suspicious glances. Commander Vex, the lead guard said. It is unexpected to see you alive. Yet here I stand, Ilara replied coldly. These prisoners must be taken to interrogation immediately. They have information about human defense systems that the High Command needs. The guards fell into formation around them, leading the group through the ship's massive corridors. Other Arxians they passed stared at Ilara and the disguised humans with curiosity. Chen kept his head down, but Ilara could feel his tension through their bond. Stay calm, she thought, knowing he would sense her message. We're almost to the central lift. The lift would take them near the life support systems. But as they approached it, an officer stepped forward, blocking their path. Commander Vex, he said, his voice filled with authority. Fleet Admiral Zoran requests your immediate presence on the command deck. Ilara's heart sank. Admiral Zoran had been her mentor, the officer who promoted her to commander centuries ago. If anyone could see through her deception, it would be him. The prisoners, she began, will be taken to holding cells. The officer interrupted. The Admiral's orders are not to be questioned. Ilara glanced at Chen, sending a quick thought. Plan B. Wait for my signal. She nodded to the officer. Very well. Take me to the Admiral, as our The guards led the disguised humans away. Alara followed the officer to a different lift. She would need to improvise now. Reach Admiral Zoran. Somehow neutralize him, then find a way to release the catalyst and rescue her team. The command deck was a vast chamber filled with control stations. At its center stood Admiral Zoran, his scales darker and more ornate than other Arxians, marking his high rank. He turned as Alara entered, his reptilian eyes narrowing. "Leave us," he ordered the other officers, who quickly departed. When they were alone, Zoran approached Alara slowly. "My most promising commander returned from the dead. Some might call it a miracle. I survived, Admiral. That is all. Did you?" Zoran circled her. "Our scouts reported your entire team was killed by humans, yet here you are, unharmed." "Not unharmed, Admiral. Changed." Zoran stopped. "Changed? How?" Alara decided that truth was her only option. "I was captured by humans. Their leader spared my life. And you repay this mercy by returning to your rightful place." "Good." Zoran nodded approvingly. "What did you learn about these humans during your captivity?" "Everything we believed about them is wrong," Alara said carefully. "They are not primitive. They are adaptable, innovative. Their technology is different from ours, but equally advanced in many ways." Zoran's expression darkened. "You sound as if you admire them." "I respect their capabilities. We should reconsider this invasion." The Admiral's hand moved to his weapon. "That sounds dangerously close to sympathy, Commander. Perhaps your captivity affected your loyalty." "My loyalty is to the survival of our people," Alara countered. "This war will cost millions of Arxian lives. A necessary sacrifice to eliminate a dangerous species," Zoran replied coldly. "Humans are a contagion. Their ideas, their emotions, their unpredictability, all threaten the order we have maintained for millennia." Alara took a risk. "Is that why our ancestors engineered emotions out of our species, Admiral? To maintain order?" Zoran froze, then laughed, a sound Arxians rarely made. "So you discovered our greatest secret?" "Yes, Commander. 10,000 years ago, our leaders recognized that emotions led to chaos, to unpredictable behavior. They systematically removed that weakness from our genetic code, creating the perfect warriors and the perfect society." "Perfect or imprisoned?" Alara challenged. "I've experienced human emotions. They're not weakness, they're strength." Horror spread across Zoran's. "Fierce here, you've been contaminated. How?" "A blood bond with a human. It reversed the genetic tampering." Zoran drew his weapon fully now. "Then you are no longer Arxian. You are as dangerous as they are." Before he could fire, alarms blared throughout the ship. The command deck screens flashed with battle alerts. "Human. Vessels approaching," an officer shouted, rushing back onto the deck. "They're attacking in coordinated groups." Earth's combined military forces had launched their counterattack sooner than planned. Zoran turned away from Alara to issue orders, giving her the opportunity she needed. She pressed the emergency signal on her hidden communicator. Throughout the ship, the disguised humans would now be breaking free, fighting their way toward their objectives. Alara moved quickly, striking Zoran from behind. Despite her strength, the Admiral was a skilled warrior. They fought fiercely across the command deck as officers tried to respond to the human attack. "You betrayed everything," Zoran snarled as they grappled. "I evolved," Alara replied. Through her bond with Chen, she sensed he had reached the life support center. The other team members were setting charges at key points throughout the ship. Their plan was proceeding despite the change in circumstances. Zoran landed a powerful blow that sent Alara crashing into a control panel. As he raised his weapon for a killing shot, the deck shuddered violently. Human weapons had broken through the ship's shields. Alara tackled Zoran, sending them both to the floor. "The Empire is wrong, Admiral. We don't need to fear emotions. We don't need to fear humans. Weakness will destroy us," Zoran hissed, striking her again. "Not weakness, change," Alara countered. "The change you've spent millennia trying to prevent." A massive explosion rocked the ship. Through the bond, Alara felt a surge of pain. Chen was injured, badly. The catalyst is deployed. His thoughts reached her faintly. But I can't make it to extraction. Too many guards. Horror filled Alara. The mission was succeeding, but Chen was dying. Without thinking, she slammed Zoran's head against the floor, knocking him unconscious, then ran for the nearest lift. As she raced through the ship's corridors, she felt Chen's life force weakening. Other Arxians she passed seemed disoriented. The catalyst was spreading through the ventilation system, beginning to affect the crew. She found Chen in a corridor near the life support center, surrounded by dead guards. Blood pooled beneath him from multiple wounds. "You did it," he whispered as she knelt beside him. "The catalyst is spreading. The ship's systems are failing. We need to get you to the escape pod," Alara insisted, lifting his body easily with her Arxian strength. "Too late for me," Chen said, his voice fading. "But you can still escape. Build a better future between our people." The blood bond flared between them as Chen's life ebbed away. In his final moments, his consciousness merged fully with hers, a complete transfer of human experience, emotion, and memory. "No!" Alara cried, feeling his death as if it were her own. But with his death came clarity. Chen's final gift, complete human emotional understanding, filled her with new purpose. Setting his body down gently, Alara continued their mission. She reached the nearest communication station and broadcast on all frequencies to both the Arxian fleet and human forces. "This is Commander Alara Vex. The command ship has been compromised. The war is over." As escape pods launched from the failing vessel, Alara made her way to one final destination, the ship's core reactor controls. There she would ensure that the 6 months after what humans called the Battle of Earth, Alara stood at the window of her quarters in the United Earth Defense Headquarters. The view showed a city rebuilding, with construction crews working on damaged buildings and new structures, rising from the rubble. Her reflection in the glass showed how much she had changed. She still had her Arxian height and scaled skin, but her eyes held an expression no pure Arxian would recognize: thoughtfulness, compassion, regret. The scar across her face from the explosion she had barely survived on the command ship had healed into a pale line. A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. "Enter," she called. Colonel Hayes, now General Hayes, stepped into the room. "Commander Vex, the delegates from the Arxian Coalition have arrived. They're waiting in the conference room." Alara nodded. "Thank you, General. I'll be there shortly." After Hayes left, Alara touched the small metal disc hanging from a chain around her neck. It contained a microchip from Chen's communication device, a simple memento of the human who had changed everything. Through their blood bond, his consciousness had merged with hers in his final moments. His memories, emotions, and perspective now lived within her, creating a unique blend of human and Arxian understanding. She still missed him every day. The command ship had not exploded as she had expected. Instead, as the emotional catalyst spread through the ventilation system, affecting more and more of the crew, something unexpected happened. Many Arxians, particularly the younger ones, experienced emotions for the first time: confusion, fear, but also curiosity and empathy. The rigid chain of command fractured as officers questioned orders they had previously followed without thought. Alara had managed to disable the planet-killer weapon and broadcast the truth about the Empire's genetic manipulation to the entire fleet. The revelation that their leaders had been suppressing their natural emotional capacity for thousands of years sparked what humans called the Arxian Awakening. Now, 6 months later, the Empire had fractured. Many systems had declared independence. A significant faction, led by younger Arxians who embraced their newfound emotions, had formed the Arxian Coalition, a new government that sought peaceful relations with Earth. Alara walked through the corridors of the headquarters, drawing curious glances from human staff. As the only Arxian who had fought to protect Earth, she held a unique position, neither fully trusted nor completely feared, but respected by most. In the conference room, a group of Arxian delegates waited. They looked like her in physical form, but their expressions showed the effects of the emotional catalyst that had now spread throughout much of their society. They showed nervousness, hope, determination, expressions that would have been punished in the old empire. Commander Vex, the lead delegate, greeted her. "It is an honor to meet you." "Ambassador Trell," Alara replied. "The honor is mine." "General." Hayes and other human leaders entered, and the first official diplomatic meeting between humans and the new Arxian coalition began. As discussion turned to trade agreements and shared defense protocols, Alara observed how differently the Arxians now behaved. They listened to human suggestions, asked questions, and even occasionally smiled, an expression they had learned from humans. "We propose a cultural exchange program," Ambassador Trell suggested. "Humans and Arxians living and working together to better understand each other's societies." "We support this idea," General Hayes replied. "And we have a scientific proposal as well. Our researchers have refined the blood bonding process that Commander Vex and Captain Chen experienced." The room grew quiet. This was new information even to Alara. Hayes continued, "We've developed a treatment that allows members of either species to experience the other's cognitive perspective while retaining their original identity. It would be entirely voluntary, of course, but it could create bridges of understanding between our peoples." Ambassador Trell looked thoughtful. "A literal merging of perspectives? Fascinating. Our coalition would be interested in such a program." After the meeting concluded successfully, Hayes approached Alara privately. "There's something else we need to discuss. The United Nations is creating a new position, ambassador to the Arxian coalition. They want you for the job." Alara blinked, in surprise. "Me? I'm not human." "Nor are you fully Arxian anymore," Hayes pointed out. "You understand both perspectives better than anyone. You carry Chen's memories, and you've lived in both worlds. Who better to bridge the gap?" Later that day, Alara traveled to the mountain site where she had first encountered humans, where she had first surrendered to Chen. The crashed scout ship had been removed, but the scars on the landscape remained. A small group of human and Arxian scientists had set up a temporary lab here. They were studying the effects of the blood bonding and refining the treatment Hayes had mentioned. "Commander Vex," a human scientist greeted her. "We're honored by your visit." "I came to see your work," Alara replied, "and to remember." The scientist showed her their laboratory, explaining how they had isolated the components in Arxian blood that triggered regeneration and the elements in human blood that stimulated emotional centers in the Arxian brain. "The treatment is ready for testing," the scientist explained. "We need volunteers from both species." "I will volunteer," Alara said without hesitation. The scientist looked concerned. "You already carry Captain Chen's consciousness within you. Another bonding could be overwhelming." "I'm not volunteering for another bond," Alara clarified. "I'm volunteering to help others understand what I've experienced. My perspective is unique. Use it." That evening, as the scientists took samples and readings, Alara stood alone on the mountainside, watching the sunset. She could almost feel Chen standing beside her, seeing through her eyes. "We did it," she whispered to his memory. "Not the way we planned, but we created something new. Not victory or defeat, but transformation." 1 week later, Alara stood before the United Nations General Assembly, accepting the role of ambassador. Representatives from 194 human nations and 12 former Arxian colony worlds watched as she took her place at the podium. "6 months ago, I surrendered to a human soldier on a mountainside not far from here," she began. "I spoke words that in my culture represented the ultimate humiliation. 'Don't kill me, human. I'll warm your bed.' I offered comfort instead of combat, thinking it the greatest disgrace an Arxian warrior could suffer." The assembly listened in silence as she continued. "I did not understand then what I know now. That phrase that represented my lowest moment has been transformed. Among the new generation of my people, warming the bed has become an idiom for cultural exchange and empathetic understanding." She looked out at the human and Arxian faces watching her. "I am neither fully human nor fully Arxian. I exist between worlds, belonging to both and neither. But perhaps that is where I can be most useful, in the space between, building bridges, rather than walls. As applause filled the chamber, Ilara felt a sense of peace she had never known in her centuries as an Arxian commander. The path ahead would not be easy. Many former Empire loyalists still resisted change. Some humans still distrusted all Arxians. But for the first time, there was hope for genuine understanding between their species. That night, Ilara returned to her quarters and removed the metal disc from around her neck. She placed it in a small ceremonial box, a human custom for honoring the dead. "Goodbye, Chen," she whispered. "And thank you." She no longer needed the physical reminder. His legacy lived within her, and in the new future their sacrifice had created, a future where humanity's greatest strength had become the foundation for an interstellar community, unlike anything either species could have built alone. A future born from the moment an alien warrior begged on her knees, "Don't kill me, human, I'll warm your bed." The end.